Welcome back to Wittenberg Academy's Greek 1 course. This is lesson 18, the middle voice, on page 56. In the passive voice, the subject is represented as acted upon. So, ha anthropos pimpatai, the man is sent. The man is sent. The ball is kicked, etc. So the passive voice in English, the subject is acted upon. In the middle voice, the subject is represented as acting on himself, so phainomai, I show myself or I appear, or as acting for himself, so poridzo, I provide, but poridzomai siton, I provide for myself food, I provide food for myself. The forms of the middle and passive are the same, except in the aorist and the future. They have separate forms for middle and passive. But the rest of the forms are middle and passive. The personal endings of the middle, as found in the indicative, subjunctive, and optative, are as follows. And I would recommend learning these. The pure personal endings like this will really come in handy a little farther down the road, but they are worth learning. My saitai, methistha ntai, and the secondary tenses main sata, methistha nta. Now again, we haven't even learned much difference between primary and secondary tenses yet. I would go ahead and make these flashcards, but the main thing to focus on here, he says, learn the present and future middle passive of luo. And that's on page 265. So if we look at page 265, section 700, the middle voice of luo. Luamai, luae, and notice the second person singular, that luae can be spelled two different ways. Luatai, luamatha, luesta, luantai. And then in the future, again, just like any other future, right? You have the stem plus sigma plus the endings you used for the present. So very easy enough to learn. So again, so you don't see the primary ending. So on page 56, the second person singular primary ending is psi, right? You go to the ending, and the ending is a. Now there's a long, complicated story about why that's so, why that sigma drops out between two vowels, but it's not worth worrying about right now. Learn the endings on page 265. But I would make a flashcard of the pure personal endings on page 56, because those will show up again further down the road. All right. Our vocabulary on page 57. Hositas is grain or food. Akuo, and then you need to note these irregular principal parts. Akuo, akusamai, akusa, akekoa. So you need to note those irregular principal parts as part of the vocabulary for learning akuo, I hear, as in acoustics. Buleo, buleoso, so normal, regular verb, means plan. In the middle voice means plan for myself or deliberate. Gignomai, the future genesomai, that's an irregular future, needs to be part of your vocabulary. Means be born or become or be. Decamai, dexamai, that's nice normal. It's a receive or accept. Notice decamai does not have active endings. It only has middle passive endings. It's a deponent verb. It's called deponent verbs. Erkamai, irregular aorist, aelthon, irregular perfect, alelotha. So you need to note those in vocabulary, means to come or to go. Metapimpamai and metapimpsamai, to send after or summon. This is obviously meta plus the word pempo, but notice that it occurs only in the middle voice, to send after or summon. Porizo, porisa, peporica is provide. In the middle, it means provide for oneself. And tata is an adverb meaning then or at that time. Many active verbs have futures in the middle. So thaumazo has thaumasamai, akuo akusamai, manthano mathesamai. lambano, lepsamai. So just something to note. You'll learn those, of course, as you learn those vocabulary words. You'll be learning those irregular principal parts. Section 199 here just has some practice to make sure we understand how to translate the middle. Luometha, so that's we loose for ourselves. Now again, it can also be passive voice because the middle and passive are identical in the present. And so it could also be we are loosed. So that's either we are loosed or we are loosed for ourselves. Context will tell you the meaning. Lusometha, we shall loose for ourselves, or we shall be freed, we shall be loosed, etc. So I mean that's we don't need to run through these that section 199 too carefully because again it's pretty simple once you know what the middle passive means. But now do start to take a crack at these sentences in section 200. And you may even want to, if you haven't figured this out already, you may want to spread these out over the course of a week. You know, do a couple sentences a day, study your vocabulary, do a couple sentences, come back to this video, correct them. The next day, study your vocabulary, do a couple sentences. That's a good way to spread this out over the course of a week and let it sink in a little better. All right, sentence 1. Tis o adelpha erkatai ektes oikios. Main verb is erkatai, so it's just he, she, or it comes. Who, O brother, is coming out of the house? 2. Klops esti lega ha archon, kai klepte ta emma hapla. It is a thief, the ruler says, and he is stealing my weapons. 3. Autus de metapempetai tus toxatas kai buleuetai. Should say that better. Buleuetai. Immediately, and then there's our word, metapempetai. He summons the bowman, and a coordinate main verb, buleuetai. He deliberates. He makes a plan for himself. 4. Didaske de periton klopon, kai kelewe autus labain tas langhas. So didaske de periton klopon, he teaches, I guess it's understood them, you know, he tells them, he teaches them concerning the thieves, and he orders them. And then labain, you have a note, means it's an infinitive. And he orders them to take langhas, to take spears. 5. Hoida. Hoida means but they, or just they, or and they. And they obey, they are obeying, and they go paratas, and they go around the tents. They go beside the tents where the spears would be stacked. 6. Hosta athroisantai eis machen hoi klopes feugusin. When they are gathered for battle, or when they gather together for battle, again, this can be middle voice or passive voice. When they are gathered for battle, when they gather for battle, the thieves flee. He costo, deton piston ne anion epepompe satrapes dora pola. Okay, where's the main verb? Epepompe. And what tense is epepompe? Right? That's that irregular aorist of pempo. Right? Pempo, pimso, pimpo, pimso, apumpa, papumphami. Right? Let's look that one up because even I'm confusing myself with pempo. And again, this is what you have to do. If you forget your principal parts, hopefully you'll at least remember which verb it comes from. So you can look up pempo back here. And it says our principal parts are pempo, pemso, epimsa, pepamfa, pepemai, epimphane. So this is actually perfect. Perfect. That's why I was stumbling over it. I was trying to make it aorist, and it's perfect. So for each hekasto, for each dative, so it has that idea of 2 or 4, for each of the faithful young men, the satrap sent many gifts. The satrap has sent many gifts. Perfect tense. 8. Euthista ha strategas dexatai ta hapla kai pempse mistontois stratiotais. Okay, main verb dexatai, future. But immediately the strategos, the general, will receive the weapons and will send, coordinate main verb, and will send a wage for the soldiers. 9. Tatada hoi fugades horizontai siton ectes comes. But then the fugades, those who fled, the refugees, will gather, it's simply present tense, will provide for themselves, so there's the middle sense of that verb, will provide for themselves grain or food from the village. And 10, prada tes acras acuantai, hoi faberai phonai le onton palon. So prada tes acras, in front of the citadel, before the citadel. Acuantai, he has a note letting you know this has got to be passive. But again, you can tell from the context, because what's the nominative? What's the subject? Hoi faberai phonai. So the fearsome voices. So it can't be the fearsome voices hear for themselves. Fearsome voices don't hear. Fearsome voices are heard. So the fearsome voices of many lions are heard. All right. So that does it for lesson 18. Study that vocabulary, take the quiz, and carry on to lesson 19.